Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Lee Perry, and I'm the senior aide to Commissioner Wilson.
Hello, how are you?
Yay, so exciting. Commissioner, how was your holidays?
Oh, so Hanukkah was good, Christmas was good. We celebrate both in my house. They looked different this year. We didn't have a house full of people or any big parties, but what we did have was a lot of food. So if we might start a running club through District 1 if anybody is interested in joining in the new year. Um, and we were so fortunate because we live in Florida and we were able to open our windows and doors and spread out, even with the few people that we did have um, that came by. We did things a little differently this year and tried to contribute and then to causes that meant something to us and then give it to somebody in honor of them so that we weren't, filling closets. And we all know right now that even the organizations that are typically very successful in fundraising for the holidays are really hit hard this year. So, um, you know, trying to at least do little bits here and there to try to fill in those gaps. How about you?
My holiday was great. I was able to just sleep and rest. Hopefully, all of you watching out there, you all had a really great holiday season too. New Year's is coming up. Do you have any New Year's plans?
Nothing big. Once again, we're making sure there's no rain because I like the idea of uh, sitting outside and maybe just having a couple little bites with some close friends and my husband if he'll hang out with me. My dogs hate New Year's and Fourth of July, so we sort of baby them on those days because the fireworks really freak them out. And so that's always in the back of my mind, like, okay, what are we going to do around the time that the fireworks go off, and how do we make sure that the dogs don't escape? So if you have dogs that are fearful, just try to keep an eye on them on New Year's Eve. I know that's a tough night for the dogs.
Yeah, I don't. I've actually been trying to educate people on some of the environmental harm that fireworks cause. So I actually haven't done anything with fireworks like most of my life for that reason. It disorients birds, it really causes a lot of ecological damage. But if you do use fireworks, please remember to be responsible and, be safe.
Yeah, and I think, it's interesting because District 1 people, we are in the shadow of the Magic Kingdom. So my children learned how to fall asleep at night with the every 9:30 or 10 o'clock fireworks going off that cause percussion in our house. So, we joke about our air conditioner here sounding like a white noise machine, but that's what we all used to use when the kids were little to try to dampen that sound. And it makes you realize, everything in nature is feeling that. And especially dogs with very sensitive hearing. I have two rescue hound dogs that they can hear it before I hear it. So it's like even the pre vibrations alert them, and I can see their posture change. So it's something to think about before we light those off.
Well, you were sworn in on December 8th. And since then, we started doing these virtual office hours, which I think are a great way for you to be tangible to the community, other Orange County residents, but specifically District 1. Thank you for being willing to kind of pull back the curtain on how local government works and wanting to actually explain the process to people.
I appreciate the opportunity, and I appreciate that people are curious and interested. We've spoken with a number of residents over the last few days, and I know that we're going to need some time to make sure that we're getting all the right answers and that we're asking the right questions. And I feel very grateful that we have residents that are willing to reach out to us with their own expertise and their own history of whatever an issue might be to help us understand better. Because without that partnership, we're really working blind. So these Facebook meetings really give us a chance to connect again, and maybe even as time goes on, we can theme some of them or get some people in from some of these departments that are a little harder to understand to give us a breakdown in a Facebook Live setting.
Yeah, I love that idea of having guest speakers and stuff like that. For those of you who are just joining us for the first time, all of the other Facebook Live virtual office hours that were done will soon be on YouTube, but for now, you can scroll back down in this Facebook page and watch some of the older virtual office hours, we encourage you to please go ahead and write comments and questions. Even if you just want to say hello, please do so.
Yeah, and if there's something that you want to see us take a deeper dive into in a future one of these or in another forum, we were talking today about getting into the community. I'm very optimistic that we're going to have enough immunity through vaccines in the coming months to really get out there and be able to meet people face to face. And I've really been looking forward to that for so long now. And standing in your community, talking to you about issues, start formulating maybe some of the things that you'd want me to come speak on or address.
So just to recap last meeting, we talked about job creation through UCF's incubator program. We talked about Jeff Benavides, the Director of Sustainability and Resilience here at Orange County, and his Sustainability Action Plan.
Awesome.
And you did a really great recap on what a BCC meeting is and what an agenda is, and that was
Yeah, and
great.
they'll be coming up again. So we will, I'm sure, in these. I know it can be dry, and I apologize if if there's parts of that that don't really pertain to you. But we want to make sure that there's things that are interesting in those agendas that we hit those points. And if there's questions, please, please, please don't hesitate to ask us. I have become the queen of asking dumb questions in the building. So it's the way we
Me
find
too.
out how things work, right?
Me
That's
too.
it.
Yeah, you got to pick up the phone and just call
Yeah.
people and ask,
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, that'll be coming again.
And of course, you can email the District 1 email, which we check every single email that comes in. And if we don't have the answer, we find someone who has an answer. So you can email District 1, like the number 1. So District
We're
1
number one.
at
Number one.
ocfl.net. So just, to recap what happened this past week, you were part of the oath of office ceremony, the swearing in of Nathaniel Douglas, Carolyn Campbell, Elena Sleef, and Raquel Lozano.
Yeah, it was a great event, and I want to thank them for. It was truly an honor, and thank them for including me in that, administering the oath of office to our new Soil and Water Board members that were elected this past election season. Our soil and water conservation boards are underutilized, have been underutilized, and I'm very excited about having designated board, a group that is dedicated to our natural resources in the way that District 1 has aligned ourselves. We really have a lot of the same things that we need to keep an eye out for. So I look forward to working with them on issues of conservation.
Yeah, and I'm curious, like, what does a soil and water supervisor really have the ability to do?
Well, I think the intent in building those type of boards through the legislative process was to allow some specialty decision making on resources that are critical to the state of Florida, and I mean that in the way of drinking water and agriculture. And so soil and water, you think about all of the things that can impact that. The problem is that with the board being sort of an independent body, an elected body, the structure wasn't as clearly lined out as it is for other boards and elected bodies. So but the potential is there, and the legislative underpinning is there. So I'm very optimistic that with this new, very motivated group, that we will see some great things.
Another recap that happened this week was that we met again with Jeff Benavides of the Sustainability and Resilience Department. And I was really excited to hear some of the ideas that he's bringing to the table. And maybe you wanted to touch on some of the things that really resonated with you.
It was such a great meeting, and I think we get so excited talking about the sustainability plan and goals that to break it down, we'd need another 2 of these Facebook lives because there was so much. But I think to highlight the things that really District 1, I want everyone to think about and maybe even put on their thinking caps for ways that we can optimize. I love that he discussed us really looking into more opportunities for ecotourism. We've talked about this before, that people come to Central Florida not just for the theme park experience. It's a great draw. It's a good, it's been an economic driver to some extent, but it hasn't been what it needed to be over these last few months. So we really, really need to look for opportunities to make sure that people still want to be here, that the uh, ecosystems that are being protected are valuable to everyone. So if we promote, or if we can really capitalize on some of the gems that we have as ecotourism destinations, or even for our own communities, making sure that they know what's available to them, growing what we already have. We have Tibet Butler Preserve is a beautiful, beautiful place out in District 1. The Oakland Preserve is a jewel. And to grow those, build those, and look for opportunities for more ecotourism and ecological preservation that can benefit both the community and the ecosystems that are in place are really, it was really speaking our language about planning and goals for the upcoming years. The other one was digging into the codes that are on the books that are, right now either sometimes not visibly enforceable or enforced. We discussed, this was something that I had been curious about for many years, why we are clear cutting to see a site that was a forest clear cut and then sit there with nothing on it but broken trees and mud puddles, and having destroyed everything in that forest, just pending whatever development plans are coming, is actually currently a violation of code. And um, based on the way that the Muni Code reads right now, which is our listing of municipal codes, laws that are on the books, we want to maybe look at a way to update, to strengthen, to enforce. So a new tree ordinance was one of the things we talked about, and it's another, I think, important issue for so many people, not just in District 1, all across Orange County. And I think it's interesting that even people who don't necessarily consider themselves conservation minded, or people who like forests or hiking, will tell you that they like to get some of that benefit of the shade when they know that in the hot summer months there's a little bit of a place where they can sit down in a chair and get the benefit of shade. The way that we offset our carbon footprint anytime we build anything is to make sure that we've got enough forestation. So the list of benefits is long, and we can definitely take another deep dive as we get closer to those initiatives. But the people in District 1 and all over the Orange County know that when they are on a trail that has that beautiful canopied shade, and then they come back and it's been clear cut, that it outrages them, and they wonder why we're not doing something about it. And those are decisions that happen sometimes very early on in planning, that we need to figure out how to make sure that we are protecting that old growth, protecting the canopy, and also offsetting any carbon footprint that we are delving into with development.
And I think another essential thing that Jeff and Lori from EPD also brought up was that the county really has to practice what it preaches, and by doing kind of an overview internally and discussing how we can be more energy efficient within our county buildings, how we can utilize more native landscaping within our county landscaping, how we can get all of the fleet vehicles to be electric. And, that's all underway right now, which I think is really exciting, because that's going to really, I think, give kind of a little bit of a pressure to other counties to follow suit that are nearby.
Well, and I think it sets an example for everyone. So to say that it can't be done, it's hard to argue that it has to be done, or it must be done, if we're not even doing it in-house. So, Orange County's facilities, Orange County's own buildings, Orange County's own properties and parks, if they set that example, then we can prove it can be done. We can show it how it can be done, and then it can be modeled. And I think Orange County is in the position to be the model county for that. I think we are a leader in so many things, and with Jeff's team being as proactive as they are, I really feel like, setting that example is going to be right around the corner. So yeah, one thing at a time, but I think we'll get there. And it was, I think, part of understanding for me how expansive, how large the operations in Orange County are. And so really trying to set that sustainability example is, I mean, it's a heavy lift. So it will take buy-in from, every corner of the county. And, we just offer our help and support in whatever way we can help them implement that, or help educate the public over what those things may look like when they come, to fruition.
And I think the last point about that is you brought up ecotourism and revenue generation. I think that there's this weird competing idea that to protect the environment is somehow connected to stifling job growth. And the thing that I love most about this plan is that it's centrally focused on job creation,
Right.
and like stimulating the local
That's right.
economy in order to be environmentally focused while also saving money
Yeah.
by making these improvements and then creating jobs and generating revenue in the local economy.
That's right. I mean, the idea of being able to educate our young people to be engineers, electrical, and work on our sustainable power plans, and then actually employ them here when they're finished with those educational pursuits, is the way that a thriving area should look. We should be able to sustain those jobs in green energy, and in what the, I think, sustainable power plants of the future are going to look like. So, but that's going to take a partnership, and we've talked to people at my counterpart at OCPS, and it's going to take a partnership, all the way through. And so those things will, I mean, everyone seems very motivated, and we are definitely putting those pieces together. And I think, there may be a resistance from the state level, but our utilities here and the way that we operate our county facilities, it is up to our county. And so these plans are, I think, ambitious, but very doable. And I think being able to pull in the community along the way is going to really show a lot of other counties that they can do the exact same thing.
Now, I know before we can even talk about job growth in 2021, we have to talk about COVID-19. It's still rampant. It's still a huge issue here in Orange County and throughout the entire state. And I know that there was an ability for people to sign up to get the vaccine recently. So I think the latter part of this, we can really dive deep into COVID-19 resources within the county
Yes.
and updates.
I want to talk about it because I think it's been anxiety provoking for 10 months now. And I think for all of us, it's impacted us all in different ways, but it's impacted everyone. And so I want to make sure that I'm making myself available for any assistance that I can. We can set aside some time or however we want to do that. But it's important to know that even if right now there are no more appointments available, it doesn't mean that is it. That just means for this round. So what they did was, they rolled those out. There's a logistics that go into that first round, and then they have to, re-up, and it'll happen again. I just don't want people to feel that some opportunity was missed, or that there will be, that was the one and only chance. That's not the case. This is going to be a process, and it's going to take some patience and some grace, because once again, this is not something that your local government has ever done before. So,
And that's one major thing that I think I'm trying to help communicate to constituents that call or email is that, and this is something I'm learning too, when a website has 1.4 million people potentially, that's how many people live in the county, all trying to get on that website at the same time, it will get overloaded and it will crash. And I know I've had frustrations, with filing for unemployment during when I was furloughed for the COVID, lockdown, And I remember thinking, like, oh, well, obviously it's XYZ, and trying to point the blame at something without fully understanding that the overload, this is something that
Yeah,
has never been done
it's
before.
never been done before. So I am, um, you know, I want to give what I feel like are some things that should bring comfort. One of those is that our medical professionals have largely been given their first round of vaccine, which for me, one of the scariest things when this all first started happening was, well, what would happen if our doctors are sick and our nurses are sick and our nursing home providers are sick? What happens? Even if we haven't been able to make our appointments yet, the knowledge that our health professionals are going to be okay, that the paramedics will be able to still make, a visit to your home should something happen to you, should bring some comfort. So that layer is done. The way that the county coordinates the COVID response and the COVID vaccine is in conjunction with the Department of Health, the state, and the federal government. So there are a lot of moving parts, and the county provides a lot of this communication that you get, and that we're hopefully getting you links for, and continual updates as we get them. The Department of Health provides quite a bit of the logistics of what those injections, where they actually go, what the vaccines, how they come in. And then we also have our own medical providers, as in our private healthcare providers, that have logisticized for their own nurses, critical care staff. So there are a lot of moving parts. The governor of the state of Florida felt like 65 and up was the priority, and I know that there is some debate about whether or not essential workers of various capabilities and of various jobs were in line before them. I believe that what they ultimately is going on right now is that throughout the state, each county is rolling out its own appointment system and sign up, and that's why they look different. Orange County's is probably one of the most challenging because of the size of Orange County. It is large and it is very diverse in its socioeconomics and its geography, so those present some challenges. I think that the frustration with the website, we almost were bracing ourselves when we heard that they opened up that website for appointments. I would still encourage you to go onto the Orange County website, and I think it's the.
I can hold the mic for
Okay,
you.
I'm going to look this up really quickly because I think it's important to get it right.
And just so everyone knows, we are putting together a website right now for Commissioner Wilson, so that you can have even more information about a lot of the issues that are kind of, some of the most major issues within the district, and also some that Commissioner herself wants to pioneer, that she has seen in her time of running and now being in office, are really essential. Um, and one of the pages that we are currently making is a resource page for COVID, and we hope to have that in early 2021 ready to go.
And we hope to have it completely shut down at the end of 2021.
Yes.
We are really hopeful that
Mm-hmm.
this time next year that we'll look back on this as something that we were able to help each other through. So the way that Orange County, the county government, is partnering for the appointments is through the Orange County Department, the Florida Department of Health. There were 30,000 appointments that were scheduled when they first opened up the scheduling apparatus online. Right now, they are not taking further appointments. There will be updates that come out through the Orange County app, the alerts that you can get if you get a newsletter from the mayor, or if you follow any of their social media pages, any of our social media pages, the commissioners. If you visit www.ocfl.net vaccine, there's an alert app that will actually notify you when it goes back online. Additionally, if you text OCFL COVID, so that's OCFL, like Orange County, Florida, OCFL COVID, to 888777, it will automatically generate vaccine updates to text to you. We'll put that in the in the post for this Facebook Live, and it will also be on all of our social media pages. Um, the other thing that's important to know about that is that the county is utilizing, or the health department is utilizing a third county provider in order to allot those appointments. You can go ahead and get a login so that that's established, so that when a portal does open again, that your login is already in place. If you need assistance walking through that, we can help with that. I played with it today. I didn't go all the way through because I'm not in the category of people who needs that first round, but I just wanted to make sure I understood how to get through those steps. It's pretty straightforward. And then that third party app, or it looks like a sort of a website, can also push out information. So the goal there is to make sure that we are not missing anybody who's interested in when that opens again, or that's interested on behalf of a family member, because I know that we're also hearing from children of people who would be eligible, or neighbors, and so we want to make sure that that information is readily available. The I think there was some concern about whether or not people needed to have a computer to utilize this system and to get vaccinated. Um, Obviously, if you have that, the little QRL is
Yep. QR code.
QR code is what they're screening or taking a picture of when you come in, but you don't need that. If there's a possibility to print off that information, you can, or if you have it on your phone, and you have your phone or your tablet, either of those would work. And I know that that can be a little bit complex for people who don't have accessibility to the internet. Just know that our library system is available to help you get that, and should be able to walk you through it also. Contact our office. We can also help with all those steps and try to get you all the information you need if we need to walk you through the steps on a PDF or any other format. Let's see if there's anything else. The other piece that I wanted to make sure people knew about is that the Barnett Park testing location for the county is still open. It's going to be closed for New Year's Day, and will reopen on the 2nd from 9 until 5, I believe, or maybe 9 to 5, 7 days a week. You do not need an appointment for that, but you can call ahead of time if you want to make sure that there is availability. But from what I understand, they have had a very smooth process recently. I know it's been busy, an uptick in testing since the Thanksgiving holiday. This is free. The county testing is all free. I know that there are many other private testing sites, CVS, Walgreens, Centricare. Check with them to see what they are requiring. Some of those are participants in employee health care plans. Some of them take Medicare supplements. So just check with Walgreens or CVS or Centricare if Barnett Park is too far away. There are two different types of testing. There is a rapid test that some of these sites can give you back a result very quickly. There's some research that shows that that may not be the most accurate testing, but it can be informative if somebody is having symptoms. So I think there's a good use of that rapid test. A higher result of accuracy is the lab test that will take sometimes a couple days. A few months ago, that took a really long time to get those back. They are coming in now. I think when we had to have one done over the Christmas break, last week, it was a 2.5-day turnaround. So if it brings some comfort, peace of mind, and some information to your family to get that information, I encourage you to get the testing done. It is very easy, and I think we've learned now over these last months how to make sure people can safely get tested without being exposed to somebody else who has the possible infection.
And I know too that on top of providing resources about where to get tested, I know that you and Anne and other staff from the county are also trying to put together resources about housing or rental assistance or food as well.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the virus part of it is daunting and ominous, and it's really only part of the issue. The other part of the issue, of course, is that people have been um, out of work or devastated economically for a variety of reasons. Orange County is still providing an eviction diversion program for renters and for landlords that are interested in participating in that. Please visit the Orange County website for all that information. There were additional funds placed in that very specifically by the county because, um, there's a convergence right now of unemployment benefits running out at about the same time as some of these other um, CARES offsets for rent. The um, federal CARES money that came to Orange County was, just tremendous, and the way that the county distributed it was actually, I thought, very thoughtful. In that there was, a chunk of that went to small business and to home businesses. There was a chunk that went to social service agencies. There was a chunk that went to safety and healthcare expenditures, which includes the PPE for the testing locations or the PPE that went out to small businesses. Which reminds me, this is kind of cool. If you go for a test at the county site, you do get PPE to go. They'll give you some PPE to go, and then they they made sure to allocate enough for that eviction and diversion program on top of what they got from the federal CARES Act to try to kind of stretch that out a little bit, not knowing what was going to happen in Congress. And I think every day everyone is watching what's happening in Washington and sitting on pins and needles. But just know that at the very least, the people who have been taking in those funds, those CARES funds here at the county, have been very thoughtful about the way that they're trying to make sure that that's being divvied back out. And I know when we think about trying to keep people in their homes and keep people fed, those are all such huge priorities. And the small business aspect of that is also important because it keeps those people's employees on and keeps them from defaulting on their small business loans and the cascading economic effect of that. So the hopefully there will be some more of the CARES Act coming in to bridge us while we recover in these next few months. But as of right now, there is a wealth of information on the Orange County website. And once again, now that we've really tried to get to all the corners of that for our constituents, if you need help with any of that, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. There are things that, of course, fall under state jurisdiction and federal jurisdiction that we may not have any control over, but we can get answers and at least find out where those decisions are coming from or what seems to be on the horizon as far as what the next allocation looks like.
Alrighty. Well, I think now's a good time to see if anybody has any questions coming in. Feel free to drop any questions or comments in the comment box and we can answer them.
Can I say something really quickly too that I forgot?
Sure.
And I think this is really important. I was actually reading about in the paper today, there was a discussion about what's happening in Florida with our lack of accessibility and our lack of funding for mental health programs and mental health treatments. And I think what we're going through right now and what we talked about in the last few minutes as far as our physical health and our financial health, those problems are almost barely shading in comparison to what's going on in our emotional health. And I just really want to make sure that the article highlighted that we've not done a great job of funding our mental health safety net and additional mental health programs for citizens. Orange County does partner with Aspire. There is a phone number, and we're going to put this in the link also. Aspire Health Partner, they will, there is a COVID resource on that website because I think that like any other sort of tragedy, the way that we've gone through, and I mean, we've endured months and months of loneliness, disruption, and setbacks,
Stress.
and all of our stress, all of those things. And unfortunately, in conjunction with that, when you think about how in your lifetime, when you've gone through something a crisis, typically there's someone to lean on, your neighbor, your friend, and we can't even really connect with those people right now. And so it's so important we keep checking on each other. A lot of that still falls with us. Those friends and neighbors that we know for sure have the medical limitations that are really keeping them very isolated are the ones that I'm the most concerned about, because not only do they have those physical limitations, but they have socially been so isolated. So once again, we have some information about Aspire, which is the county partner, and I also have some information about some other private partnerships that can help with some local organizations that can help with crisis intervention. Because if you know anybody that's having any issues, if you're having those issues, please, please, please reach out. If it needs to be a private conversation, message us directly, call offline, whatever you need to do, because it's not something that you're going through alone. And I can promise you that we're all going through that, and it's just really, it's hard to articulate when we have the business of this and the talk of the vaccine, but the emotional impact is going to continue to be there. So I wanted to touch on that before we moved on. Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's great information. And yeah, my heart goes out to anyone that struggles with any type of, depression or anxiety. I know I have, and I still do, and we're in this together, So please, if you're looking for more information, we'll add it to the link, and we'll also be willing to take questions or also emails as well to help connect you to Aspire.
Yeah, and I think this time of year especially, I think it's hard because I think the holidays, there's an expectation for togetherness. And I think that's always hard for people that struggle with that seasonal depression, and then you compound it with the limitations. So yes, right now we really need to lean on each other and to not be afraid to ask about somebody else, and to also admit that we need maybe some help. And I know that if I think about the times that I didn't want to talk about those things, were always the times that I needed to talk about them the most. So it's a struggle, but you're not alone. And yeah,
we're here.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's take some questions.
All right, we have one question from Kimberly Ann Zeidner. She says, in regards to the planned development of 535 Winter Garden Vineland Road, abutting Lake Sheen Reserve, we had been previously made aware that a developer is requesting to expand the currently zoned 4 units per acre to 10 units per acre. This deeply upset myself and the residents of the area who love the residential mix with conservation feel of the area.
This is why I need you.
Whatever happened to this case? It had been postponed back in August, and I have not heard anything since.
Okay, so the question was about a change in request of zoning for a parcel near Lake Tibet, Lake Sheen. It sounds like it. Okay, so on Apopka Vineland or Winter Garden Vineland.
So she actually has a specific case number.
I was just going to say, we're going to get the case number. I don't want to look it up right now because I know that'll take us more time than we have on here. It has not been on our long range agenda because that would have piqued my interest. And I think that we need to talk about what information you've gotten already. When I came into office, there was very little in the way of sort of historical case files. So a lot of what I'm piecing together now is from previous minutes, plans that were already in agenda items, or things that are now being pulled for public hearing. So now that I have the case file, we will look at that and make sure that we find out what the status is. We've seen the most recent long-range agenda, which I would assume that would be on there, knowing that it was something that may have been controversial at the time. But we really rely on you to let us know about those things. So I thank you so much for giving us the information, because it is those changes in development plans that by the time sometimes they get 2 steps further from that, it's hard to stop. So which actually brings me to something that I wanted to really make sure to get out to everybody. When you talk about the change of zoning for some of those parcels, or for all parcels in Orange County, um, those were zoned through a comprehensive plan that when there's any request for a change of those, it goes through the process that oftentimes becomes what you see in our planning and zoning meetings, and that comes in front of the county commission. You have, as citizens right now, an opportunity to actually get involved in the next revision of the comprehensive plan for Orange County. And I think maybe our next Facebook Live, or maybe we'll do a separate Facebook Live just to talk about comprehensive plan. What they're calling it is Vision 2050. I've put out a link for that. We'll do it again. On January 20th, there will be a public town hall with the Planning and Zoning Division of Orange County in their the development of the next comprehensive plan. So that comprehensive plan looks at the entire county and all the uses that parcels were designated as of right now. And then what they did was they divided it out in different ways, and then they're seeking input on what residents and citizens of Orange County feel like they see for the next 20, 30 years in their area. Some of the way that those things are designated in maps right now makes sense to me. They do a great job of marking where the wetlands are. I think they could do a better job of protecting them, but that they'd mark them at least. There are things on there that I can't find. I had a hard time locating where we have designated any fragile ecosystems that weren't wetlands. So there are questions that I have. I'll be there on January 20th to talk about what those plans look like. But this is the time that public comment is not just offered, it's expected. And I think District 1 has the most interest in all of that comprehensive planning. The next 20 years is going to look, we can make some differences right now based on the description of what I believe the goals are for people in West Orange County, which is to preserve those beautiful natural places. So we will be in touch about that particular case, but mark your calendar, January 20th, and it's Vision 2050. It'll come with some surveys, and it's WebEx. It's you don't have to worry about going anywhere, so we should be able to come to you. If for some reason you can't make it on January 20th, go onto the website and take a look at the presentations they've already done, because they're pretty similar everywhere, and you'll at least understand how the county is designating some of these areas and what they're asking residents to give them feedback on. So in particular, my question wasn't something that they were asking for feedback on, but I still have the question about whether we can designate opportunities for green space, or for some backfill of green space. When I mean that, like, is there an area where we can go back in and designate something as a protected green space for the community? So we're going to need everybody in on that. I think the one for the northern part of the county they already had, and there were 17 total participants on it, and they said that was sort of a record-breaking number, and I'm like, wait a minute, I think that my area can do better than that. So get the word out. We'll continue to share that. I think it's really important, and it's a little bit confusing when you hear comp plan. What all that means is our land use plan. What are we doing with these parcels of land? And there's no parcel of land that we have that doesn't have some label on it for some use. And so the decisions made on changes of those, or how we define those, are we're going to have an opportunity to weigh in.
I love how, the fact that we have so much power as residents, and that the county is trying to set up that power for us, the people that live here, that work here, to have a voice, to do a survey. And, don't underestimate that power, Kimberly. You can email us. Please drop your email in the comments too, but you can also email district1@ocfl.net. Make your voice heard. I will do my best to try to get with staff about that particular case and get you an update. But get your community in. Get your community in to do this survey and to come into this comp plan public hearing
Yeah, I mean, we have the opportunity with a kind of a unified voice about some of those more fragile areas that people really came to West Orange County for, to make sure that the decision makers in planning and zoning know exactly what the expectation is. And I think, like I said, even if the surveys that they have on that aren't necessary, if that isn't the right avenue, we will find another one and we'll continue to repeat those messages, but be as specific as possible. And I really like that you know exactly where that parcel was and what the area was. I think when you look at the Butler Preserve, um, there's not a lot left of areas that we could potentially put away as protected fragile ecosystems. So I think we need to raise the red flag on those and do what we can.
Alrighty, next question.
Next question comes from Dave Waring. He says, "Hello, Miss Wilson. Congrats on your new position. We were wondering if the giant park in the Horizon West area was still planning on moving forward, and if it was, can we please get a hockey court? I know there are a lot of other things to worry about right now, but there's hope for the future and wish everyone a safe and happy new year.
Thank you.
I'd be
Okay,
happy to donate the hockey goals and can even provide some sticks and balls for the kids to play with."
fantastic. Okay, so this is a question about the new park that is in development in the Horizon West area, and yes, that is still part of a plan. And we actually have a briefing with Parks and Recreation. One of the things that the chief of sustainability discussed was how vibrant the feedback was from people when they asked for public comment about the Horizon West Park. And I said, that's not a surprise to me because I know how enthusiastic that area is and how important those spaces are. Maybe we can talk about the hockey part of it. I know, I'm so sorry, I'm a Florida kid and know very little about how to set that up. I'll know a little more after my briefing with Parks and Rec, and then maybe we can round back and talk about what your thoughts are and plans are and go from there. I'm very excited to hear about it though, because to me, the idea that people are really looking forward to this recreational space and can visualize some family fun in the future gives me it makes me happy, because that is a positive thing to talk about, and I love looking forward to those things. So yes, happy New Year to you also, and yeah, reach out. We'll say, I think after Parks and Rec, it's going to be probably February.
Yeah, reach out around February
And then if I get any updates from them before my briefing with Parks and Rec, we will push it out, because I know that everyone sort of had to pivot for the COVID response and the vaccine response. But if when some of these regular planning processes kind of get back in line, I will make sure to get as much out to you as possible.
He says that there's a hockey one at the park in Lake Mary / Greenway.
Oh, okay. So we'll take a look at it then.
I definitely noticed a lot of people in West Orange County have expressed a need for parks, that there's very few actually in major places where development is. So I don't know if you wanted to touch on that, but that we've had an influx of people wanting that green space.
It's really amazing how consistent that message is. And I think we've talked about this in here, and I think I've talked to some of you all out there about that. When we were put in lockdown, it really exposed the need for that. The idea of being out and having that fresh open air and green spaces was even more magnified. We need to, in all corners of District 1, try to find opportunities where we can provide more park space, because I do think there were some areas that became a little locked in development, and we're talking about development that happened 30 years ago in some of these areas. So it's going to have to take some creative problem solving, but the communities that have reached out to us and the individuals, I think, have some really good insights. So, I look forward to identifying those places in the future.
Do you have another question? No more questions. Well, I know you have another BCC meeting coming up on the 12th of January.
Yes.
And I know that you're going to be kind of going in meetings in and out talking about that. Really, January is going to be, doing tours and interviews with all the different departments so that you can kind of put faces to names and, really get the lay of the land within the county. What else do we have in store for 2021, do you think?
Well, on top of getting that lay of the land and getting out and making sure that we meet the different departments where they are so that we really understand how the operations work. And I mean, that's everything from we're set up to go to corrections and the medical examiner and the, to see the landfill and some really interesting components of Orange County government. So I'm fascinated and I'm curious. But on top of that, it's going to help us put together exactly where we resolve some of the issues that have bubbled up over the last several years and some of the constituent concerns that we don't have answers for yet. It's been, very exciting to talk to people from all over the district and from all over the county, but also a little bit hard for me to not have an immediate answer for them. But every time we get with a different department, I'm putting those puzzle pieces together to make sure that we're able to really affect some change. So I look forward to being able to actually resolve those cases. And then, looking forward into, when you look at long range things for 2021, I really, cannot wait to, we talk about getting out there in the community and looking for specific projects, whether that is something that means something to a community such as a retrofit for a park or a educational program. So there are a lot of things that we've talked about that are on the dream list, which I don't think is that much of a dream. It's just, we have to get through these the briefings first, and then we can dig in on that. But we are here to serve our community. We work for you. So if some of the things we've talked about as our goals or our concerns don't match up or we're missing something, that's for us to hear about. You please do not hesitate to reach out. We don't know about it oftentimes until it reaches a different department or it reaches a point where I am not sure how to unravel it. And so, obviously this is new to us, but we want to hear about things early on if there's a concern and an issue that you think that the county can help with.
And, right now, actually, I'll pull it out. You got a new map, and we're looking at the map.
I did, and I'm a map geek. We are going paperless with our agenda. So this will be my, our next agenda won't be that huge binder I showed you at the last Facebook Live. But I love a real map because, it's a real map. I mean, look at this map. So
has her name on it.
This is District 1 for people who... I think it's a little confusing because our school board chairs don't line up, our House representatives don't line up. It's a very specific delineation for your county representation. So you can see this is Winter Garden. So the municipalities have their own colors. So the Winter Garden, this is Ocoee, Gotha, Windermere, Lake Buena Vista, Williamsburg, Hunters Creek, Bay Lake, Horizon West,
Oakland,
Orlando, Oakland. Yeah, so there's this is a Dr. Phillips area. So we are very, very diverse geographically. We are a diverse community personality wise, and we are. I mean, look at all the water bodies.
Lots of water,
and so the decisions we make, our planning decisions, are so important. And I think anybody who knows the history of Lake Apopka knows that an ounce of prevention will go a long way, because I think they're $100 million into their repairs of Lake Apopka. And what we want to do is make sure that we don't ever have to do that again. So there it is. And it shows exactly where the roads are in right now, but it may not show some specific other, if there's other in the works development that you know about. So don't look at this and think, oh, that development must be off the books. Still contact us if you have any questions, because I'm not sure exactly when they freeze this in time. It's also kind of interesting because they did code on the side here, the Orange County parks and trails, and then they have the schools, and you can see in the fire station, so you can see exactly where those are. And I know that that's always a concern when there's an infrastructure that has to catch up with the growth. And we are talking to the great people out in Horizon West to make sure that they feel safe, and that their infrastructure provides emergency services as well as anybody else's, and making sure that they have access. So that's the new map.
And I think that, we're talking today about where your next meet and greets, when we are able to get back out, hopefully by February in the community. We had brought up Williamsburg. We brought up the Big Sand Lake area. Horizon West is like some of the first. So I'll be probably locking in some of those venues to host these meetings and then working our way up. If you are the head of a group in the community, or if you are, hold on one second.
Gosh, even involved in your HOA, or
Yeah, if you have a community leader that's very vocal and has a lot of people that they're in, have an audience. We really are starting from scratch. We don't have a newsletter yet. We don't have any emails or contact lists yet. So please feel free to reach out and send us some of those contacts that
we're building that right now.
Yeah.
And it is going to take, we're able to take all the ones at least we got sort of in those first few weeks, but we're going to need to continue to build on that. We have a large and beautiful district, but we're going to rely on the people that are really engaged and in touch to help us pull in everyone else. So yeah, civic leaders out there, community leaders, we need you. We want to go ahead and get some places and some times that we can get out there, and we want to build our database of emails so that we can stay in constant communication.
I was so surprised seeing how many people were reaching out to help, how many people were reaching out with resources, or they knew of certain nonprofits that were doing really good in the community that they wanted to make sure that the commissioner was made aware. I just find it really awesome to see how people want to help their community.
You're exactly right, and it's why this job is a pleasure, even on the days that it's really long and challenging, is because you meet people out there that you realize this is why I do this, that we are part of this bigger picture and a bigger team that that can make life really good for a lot of people. And so I think I think this last week has been such an interesting adding to our knowledge base, and I'm very excited about making sure I can get all those pieces together and make sure that we are giving answers when we can. So yeah, thank you all very, very much.
Thank you all. And and want to say goodbye. Any last little comments? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you all. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you.
I am a very grateful lady, because if you told me on this day last year that this would be where I would be today, I would be like, that's so funny. But I am here, and I'm so grateful, and I'm so honored, and I know there's going to be some, some highs and some lows, but I am in for the haul, and I'm so happy to have the team I have and the community I have. So thank you, and Happy New Year. Blessings to everybody for 2021. A happy and healthy 2021.
Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you so much. And don't forget to email district1@ocfl.net if you have any more questions. Thank you.